Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's reading with Meenakshi. And today, again, we've got the Economist for you and an article on the Communist Party of China and how it has been able to survive 100 years, and still people just follow it. So let's see what the Economist says. So, how has China's Communist Party survived for 100 years? Under Xi Jinping, the party is thriving, means it's growing. It was Mao Zedong who decided that July 1st, 1921 was the day that China's Communist Party was founded. So it was founded actually exactly, if you know, 100 years ago, on July 1st, 1921. The actual date was July 23rd, when its first National Congress was held in Shanghai. Records were not to hand when Mao fixed the date. So we are not very sure when he fixed the date. It was not only the communist organization around in China, and it had only 50 members. So there were many other communist organizations at that time in China, and this Communist Party only had 50 members. Few could have predicted that it would one day be running the country, much less it would still be doing so today. So that it would, these 50 people had conceptualized something like which continued for the more 100 years afterwards. So, how did the Chinese Communist Party take power, and how does it plan to hold on to it? So, what happened, and what is the future? Let's look at it. So, this is the principal question that is being answered in this paragraph. So obviously this is going to be your main idea, that how it came to power and how it plans to hold on to it. So your main idea is going to revolve around this. The whole paragraph is trying to explain this point. Let's look at it. China in 1921 was a poor country racked by civil war. It was civil war, means inside there was a lot of unrest and fighting. Most of its 400 million people lived in the countryside, and but in industrial areas labor unrest was common. So most of the people depended on agriculture, but in the industrial area the labor fighting was happening. In the late 1920s, the communists were pushed into the countryside, recruiting peasants to their armies with promises of lands once the landlord class was destroyed. So now, because of this, the fighting and the unrest, the communists were pushed by the police, the government, into the peasant area, means the agricultural area. And there they promised these farmers that you are going to get your land once the feudal system, the landlord class was destroyed, also called as the bourgeois, according to Karl Marx, if you've read his theory, and the proletariat was the working class. So Mao Zedong, who hadn't studied much Marxism, now see, Marx has come automatically. As soon as you talk about communism, Marxism comes here. So was appointed leader in 1935 during the long march to northern China to escape the nationalist Kuomintang forces, which controlled most of the China. So at that time, Kuomintang forces controlled the China. They were the Chinese army, and he went through a long march to northern China to escape them. In the Second World War, the communists and the Kuomintang fought side by side against Japan. Now, Japan, if you read the history of China, Japan was almost, like a parasite. They had just taken off everything in China and looted everything in China. And so that time, uh, the communists and the Kuomintang, they fought together, and its allies resuming their own war. On October 1st, 1949, the victorious communists founded the People's Republic of China. So first, they talked about they fought Japan together, and they fought amongst themselves also. And then the Communist Party was victorious, and in 1949, it gave the name People's Republic of China to what we know of China as today. As the head of the party, Mao ruled till his death in 1976. So from that time, he 49 to 1976, Mao Zedong was the person who was controlling China. As the head of the party, he ruled, and he thought that a class struggle could lead China to a communist paradise. So he talked about that class struggle between the haves and the have-nots, the landlords and the peasants, the bourgeois and the proletariat, as we call it. And he would talk about it that it would lead to a communist paradise, means it would be like the heaven of communism. Tens of millions died in purges. Purges meaning when people were taken out and killed, who were not following and famines, and obviously a lot of lives were lost because of the famine when there was no food, and led China. So this led during the Cultural Revolution, which aimed to eradicate the capitalist and the traditional norms from the society. So whatever capitalism was there, they had to just take it out. Norms means the cultural rules, regulations which were followed. So, and from 1980 onwards, however, the Communist Party played down the role of communism in the rise of the world's most populous communist state. So now they played down means they underplayed the role of communism and tried to show as a new face. Instead, the party prioritized development over class struggle by restoring private business and property rights. So they became a little open minded. Political debate and some criticism of Mao's rule has at times been tolerated, although the late chairman's face still adorns most Chinese banknotes. So the Chinese banknotes still have Chairman Mao's face. Now, Chairman is always referring to Mao Zedong. He was called as the Chairman Mao. China's current leader, Xi Jinping, wants to re-establish Mao's authority. Now, he wants to get back into that kind of a framework which Mao had conceptualized. Mr. Xi has ordered the party's 92 million members to brush up the Maoist ideology and party history in the hope that a shared understanding will keep them in line. So they want to get close to the Maoist ideology. He has little truck for grumbling about communism past. So he is not going to tolerate any negativity about the communism's past. Grumbling means any kind of bad mouthing. And about 8% of China's adult population are members of the party, providing its eyes and ears in the workplace, neighborhood, and campuses. Now, eyes and ears means they're all spying on the people. If you have read Big Brother, the not Big Brother, sorry, this one, 1984 of George Orwell. He talks about the concept of Big Brother, where everybody is being spied on. In it was more of a Russian context in that book, but here also the similar thing. So they are providing the eyes and ears in workplaces, neighborhoods, and campuses. Well-educated Chinese still flock to join. They want to join. Flock means come in groups to join the party. And Mr. Z is purging the party of corruption. Purging means he's cleaning the party of corruption and expanding its powers. Experiments with will-driven democracy have been abandoned and surveillance technology has been embraced. So this democratic setup which had happened in the 80s and 90s, now Mr. G is stopping that and he's surveilling everything. He's like, you are in the eyes of the camera. He's like checking everything. Nationalism is shaping a new generation of the Chinese. So now they have to be, proud to be Chinese. And the party's efficient crushing of COVID-19 and rapid restarting of normal economic activity has been a propaganda boom. Propaganda means a lot of noise is there of China's rule and how it's going forward. And it is limiting liberties in Hong Kong. Now, Hong Kong has come back under Chinese rule. So they are again curbing the liberties, the freedom in Hong Kong, including freedom of speech and right to peaceful protest. In fact, last month only, the Tiananmen Square, which I have recorded for this video, Hong Kong used to have a peaceful remembrance of people who had died in the Red Square firing, but now China had stopped it this year. In many ways, Mr. Z is the antithesis of Mao and his desire for continuous revolution. So in many ways, Mr. Mao had asked for revolution, always the struggle. He is not talking about the fight. Mr. Z calls for a peaceful China, meaning one where stability is the priority. So inbuilt struggle he does not want. In 2023, China's Communist Party will have ruled for the same length of time as the Soviet one did before its collapse in 1991. So 74 years. So that is the exact comparison between the Chinese Communist Party and the Soviet Union, which lost its communism in 1991 after 74 years of the communist rule. And in 2023, China will be at the same number of years. Mr. Z frets. Frets means he's a little scared that his party has flaws. So every party has errors, and including corrosion by Western political ideas. So his party is also corroded, means it is impacted by the Western political ideas, corruption, factionalism is divided into groups, and disloyalty. Obviously, everybody is not loyal. None of these suggest a party about to collapse. But none of these problems show that the party is going to collapse. Mr. Xi survives on ruthlessness at home while developing economic growth that many people want. So he's very ruthless at home, means he's very, very strict and not ready to listen to anything at home, but he's providing the economic growth that the people want. It would be folly to bet on the party remaining a political force in 100 years' time. So it will be an error. Folly means it will be an error to bet that again another 100 years it is going to rule, but the world should be prepared or for it to last for decades, yes. But yes, we have to be prepared. The whole world, that's all of us combined, have to be prepared that this party is not going to go away soon. It's going to say maybe not for another 100 years, but for many tens of years, that is the decades. So this was about your Chinese Communist Party. And I hope you enjoyed the reading. Now read more about the communism in China, and you will see many more nuances. So keep continuing this reading. Please follow the series. I will try to post everything, one new reading at least every day or every alternate day. And please leave your comments and likes and shares. That really gives us, more momentum to do the work. Thank you very much. Bye bye. Take care.